It's the Discerning Gamer Podcast, the board game. Now play as the crew that know their Master Chief from their Master Sword in this new 4-player experience. Experience the #1 podcast in Algeria from your own home. Play as your favourite crew such as JB Fury. There's not much meat on that proverbial bone. Or Fergimon.
PC Buster Race, that's a French kiss.
What? Steely, have you guys seen or heard about this? And Pistol, Pissy P. Simon, be quiet. Hey, you guys want to talk about the 1,000 Year Door? Race around 100 space board game, battling to be the Discerning Gamer of the Year. Wow. Fuck Ubisoft, am I right?
I'm going to pre-order this French kiss.
Can I play it in VR? Simon, shut up. Can we talk about the 1,000 Year Door again? Be the prince of pre-orders and pre-order now for the special Christopher Walken edition with 30 extra overused jokes. Wow. Sounds good. With a cassette tape guiding you through the game, read by Horizon voice actress Ashley Burch. Only $99.99 for the standard edition, $129 for the digital deluxe edition, or $220 for the digital deluxe Supreme Ultimate Edition. The Discerning Gamer Podcast, the board game. It's like sticking a barbed wire baseball bat up your ass. Still better than a Ubisoft game.
Welcome to the Discerning Gamer Podcast, your premium destination for all things gaming culture. We have the latest in gaming news, reviews of the hottest new games, discussion and analysis of the games of yesteryear. When you're short on time and need your gaming fix, look no further than the crew who know their Master Chief from their Master Sword. I love Halo. Your hosts, Joel, Simon, Casey, and Bird. So toss a coin to your Witcher and answer that Call of Duty. It's time to level up. This is the Discerning Gamer Podcast.
Yes, coming to you live on Twitch this week. In 1274, a Mongol fleet led by Khotan Khan invades the Japanese island of Tsushima. The Jito Lord Shimura and his nephew Jin Sakai lead an effort by the 5 great families of the island to repel the invaders as they land. However, the battle ends in disaster, with the samurai killed by the superior weapons of the Mongols, namely the Discerning Gamer Podcast. I am your host, Joel JB Fury Beauchene, and with us this week, as always, are the DG crew, starting with the Prince of Pre-Orders, the Sultan of Steam. Growing up in the ruling class of samurai, he was raised in a strict, disciplined environment, trained by his father, Kazumasa, and maternal uncle, Lord Shimura, to become a samurai. It's Fergamon Hamilton.
JB, how are you, mate?
Oh, very good. How is Kazumasa, by the way?
He's not bad.
Keeping well?
Yeah, he is. He's been keeping very well. Don't see him as much these days as I'd like to, but he's doing well.
That's good to hear. Also with us, the gaming chef, the Earl of
Emotional Damage.
He led local samurai forces against the Mongols on Komoda Beach. The defense ended in disaster as the Mongols killed the majority of his forces and conquered most of the island in a matter of hours. During the initial battle, Khotan beheaded one of his closest friends, Harinobu Adachi, after lighting him on fire. It's Simon Steely McLaughlin.
Yes, Joel, yes. Thank you. Oh, filmed in front of a live studio audience. What can I say?
Always do.
Unfortunately, they had to set my mate on fire. What they could have done is just celebrated in one of the best of the Mongolian delicacies, Mongolian beef, Joel. But no, let's set people on fire. This is a stupid thing to do. But I tell you what, don't mess with me because I'm gonna come and get you. At some point.
Yep. Thanks, Steely. It's awesome.
It's a fair warning, Tim.
Yeah.
Just don't do it.
Finally, the Nintendo Queen, Pistol Pisty Pete, the Pissed. Unable to risk the possibility of the Mongols executing the prisoners, she convinces Jin to go against his samurai code by striking from the shadows and killing the Mongols in stealth. After the battle, people remark that they've never seen any samurai fight the way Jin has before. She crafts a tale to explain Jin's superhuman abilities, boasting to onlookers that Jin is not human but a ghost. That person was Casey C-Mac McLaughlin.
Yes, I'm very important. Hello.
Hey.
Well, yes, thanks. I'm here.
Yes, you'll have to forgive me for all the Ghost of Tsushima references, but there is some very exciting news that came out of the last state of play that Sony released. So we'll cover that a bit later in the show. But for now, let's kick things off the way we usually do. Fergus Fergamon Hamilton, what have you been playing this week?
Well, this week, Joel, and the week before, I'm pretty sure, I've been playing the Plucky Squire.
Ah.
Yes.
On the old
Love that.
PlayStation 5.
Yes.
I haven't quite finished it. I was hoping to get the game done in time for this discussion, but I'm not quite there. So I think I've played most of Chapter 6, and I think there's 8. I've maybe played 6 hours, and from what I'm reading, there's 8 hours all up. So I'm towards the back end. So I've got a pretty good handle on this game, and I've got some thoughts. So off the bat, I just love this art style of this game. It's sensational. Whether you're playing in 2D or 3D, it's just gorgeous, and I'm just absolutely loving it. It just looks unbelievable. Unlike anything I think I've ever played before. I know there's a few games that exist that do the old, you play in 2D, then you go into 3D, but this is sort of my first experience with a game like that, and yeah, I just love the art style. It's incredible. I think it's fantastic. I'm really enjoying the narration and the comic book sort of narration and how you go through this game with different chapters and stuff like that. I think it's very well written. The dialogue is very polished. It's obviously aimed at younger audiences. It's a kid's comic book essentially. The puzzles are really, really good. Not quite on, some kind of level like Zelda and stuff like that, but yeah, really interesting. I think there's a good sort of mix, and obviously the more that you play, the more skills and the way that you can manipulate the world you're in sort of opens up, which is really good. Combat's decent, though I did find that after you start upgrading some of your swords and some of your weapons, you're pretty OP by that point. And my favorite is you throw the sword and then you can call it back to you. And you can sort of pick off enemies without going anywhere near them and without them becoming a threat. So, yeah, the combat's good, but it's not super difficult. As far as criticisms, there's a lot of hand-holding in this game. So, whether it's...
Not a fan of hand-holding in Gathering?
No, I don't mind hand-holding to an extent. This has probably got a little...
Just go in raw with Ferg. No romance bullshit. Just go in hard and raw.
Straight to third base. Hand-holding in the sense that, you'll have conversations with characters within the game who will literally tell you what you need to do in the next section. They'll go, all right, we're doing this, so go and do this. And they'll tell you. I just feel like I just wish there was, I don't know, a way to play the game with a bit more of a difficulty level. I know they've obviously got, they're trying to cater for young kids all the way to adults. Another example is, Mini Beard, who's sort of throughout the game, you can go and have a chat to him, and he'll, if you talk to him, he'll literally tell you what you need to do. So I found myself avoiding talking to him to try to make it a little bit more tricky. I just wish it was a little bit difficult, a bit more harder is what I'm sort of getting at. But look,
a little bit more harder.
A little bit more harder. My English is fantastic. I was really enjoying this game for about 6 hours, I think, like I've said. And then I got to the point, like I said, where I'm trying not to talk to people. I'm trying to make it as hard as I can, so it's a challenge. I ran around for about 40 minutes before I realized that my game was bugged. So I was running around trying to, scratching my head for the longest period of time. I'm like, this game's pretty easy. Like I said, the hand holding. I got to this point, I'm like, all right, it's getting hard. I really need to just go through absolutely everything. And I spent 40 minutes because when I went to restart the chapter, it had said the last save was 40 minutes. And so I just got to the point where I'm like, I'm so stumped. I'm going to have to go and look at a walkthrough. And the first one I went through was like, you need to do this and this. You look for these mushrooms, which you turn into bombs. It's like, it sits in this location. So I went there. it wasn't there. And then I'm Googling, and people are like, yeah, I've had that same bug.
Oh no!
That really, stuff like that kills me because I've played like 95% of Chapter 6, and it's wigged out in like the last sort of 2 minutes of that chapter. And my last save is still like shot, so I'm potentially gonna have to go back and start the whole chapter again. I don't know, that just sort of left me with a little bit of a sour taste in my mouth, but yeah, I think I'll sit it down for a little bit, and then when I sort of forget about chapter 6, I'll go back. I'm enjoying it, but that was just a bit of a ended on a bit of a flat note.
It's like when you don't save in Pokemon on the Game Boy, and then it bugs out, and then.
Yeah.
Like when you play
like,
80% of
like
Ni no Kuni on Joel's PlayStation, and then you buy your own PlayStation, and you realise back then that games don't save on the discs. Dumbass. I'm a dumbass. So, and that you can't just transfer from somebody else's PS3 to yours. I'm a dumbass, fucking dumbass. So, yeah, that made me sad, and I never went back and finished that game.
You might not finish it, Ferg.
Yeah, well, potentially I might get distracted with something else. But up until that point, I was really enjoying it. But I sort of was getting to a stage as well where I was really sort of hoping for the game to sort of take me to the next level. I felt like it had played all of its cards. I'd seen sort of all the puzzles and all the different things, and you get to a bit where you're sort of cruising. And I'm just hoping in the last 2 hours it sort of takes it up a notch and you finish with a really, like, on a high note. And it's just, unfortunately, the game-breaking bug that I've come across in Chapter 6 is sort of, taking the wind out of my sails, so to speak. But I'm really enjoying this. I think this is a fantastic game. And like I said, I don't want to end on a negative note. The art style in this game is incredible. And I am really enjoying it. I love the puzzles. I just love the whole thing about it. I do enjoy... I mean, I've read a few reviews and people are like, oh, it's a bit slow paced and, you're forever getting similar dialogue and it's a bit repetitive. And I didn't really mind that. I kind of liked that breaking up sort of the gameplay a bit. So, as 6 hours in, dismissing maybe the bug, it's probably sitting at a solid 8 discerning gamers out of 10 for me. And the question will be, in the last 2 chapters, can it, finish on a crescendo? We shall see.
We shall.
But I know you guys have been playing this game as well, so your thoughts.
Not this week. I haven't, but I'll pick that back up in a sec. So
Joel's been playing Subnautica this week.
Get fucked.
What 22?
What have you been playing this week, Steely and C-Mac?
It's been a big week.
Everything.
2 weeks.
Everything.
We've got too much, haven't we?
Too much
We don't
to
know
play.
what to do.
No, so well, let's go right back to where we started from, JB. We we were playing Astro Bot, and then after that, Plucky Squire came out, and so we started playing that so we could try and finish it and cancel PlayStation Plus. Oh, whoopsie daisy! And then, but then Zelda came out. About 4 or 5 days later, so haven't finished. I've started 3 games, haven't finished any of them. This is a far cry from a whole 6 months where all I was doing was playing Squad Busters and trying not to pay $40 for a fucking super dynamic superhero skin. But frustration in the nation because there's now when it rains it pours, so to speak. And so I feel kind of frustrated because we have just started Zelda now, and I'm frothing at the lips for this. Casey's played a little bit more than I have, but I am really excited to keep playing this game, and I don't want to play Plucky Squire now because I want to finish Zelda because I'm a Zelda fuckboy, and so I'm a simp for Zelda, if you will. So
for me, the Zelda game though, because it's such a different kind of game. I was telling you this yesterday.
Yeah.
The mechanic is so much different than any other game I've played. I want to finish it because I've got that muscle memory for it now. When you get muscle memory for a game where you have the buttons already ready to go. I just need to keep doing that, otherwise it's going to get too complicated. Because there's a lot of buttons in terms of swapping between different echoes, different things that you you learn an echo, and then you've got to craft it, and then you've got to send it off, and then you've got to do this and that, and my brain has just managed to kind of figure it out.
Out of the 3 games...
I can't go much further than that, no.
Yeah. Out of the 3 games we've started, it's probably requires the most brain power.
It does.
Especially because being long-time players of Zelda, just like what Casey said, it is a completely different formula to any regular Zelda game. And so... Oh, Ren... I'm going to say a lot of bad words. That boy should be in bed.
Hey, in Perth it's actually...
Oh, it's like 3 o'clock in Perth, 5 o'clock in Perth. Anyway, for listeners at home, my nephew said to my brother that I said a bad word. And so that's
What word do you think it was?
Huh?
What word do you think it was?
Oh, probably when I said simp for Zelda.
So you were a Zelda.
Yeah, I did.
Might have been that one.
Maybe it was that. But no, so it requires a lot more brain power because having played Zelda for such a long period of time, it's very different. The fact that you have this complete new ability, which for anyone that's played Tears of the Kingdom, it will almost feel like you're right at home. It's very, very similar in regards to the fact that you almost have like an ultra hand ability instead of, say, the copy ability or the echoes ability is kind of a little bit different to what you would do in Tears of the Kingdom, but it's still inventory management based. And so I think that it's 2010 in Perth. Well, that's a long time ago.
We're getting...
That's 14 years ago in Perth. Wow. Is that right? 14? Calm down. So it's very, very different in regards to how you play it. But having said that, I think we're going to stick to Zelda, finish Zelda, Plucky Squire, Astro. I think that's just going to be the way that
we've got Mario Party Jamboree coming out in a couple weeks.
Oh, shit the bed. And so there's just too much to play. Why? Why do they do this to us? Why do they do this to us? They could have just released everything, spread out, and just finished their games at an appropriate time. But instead, they've decided to put it all in the same time at the same time. Who does that?
And also, I want everyone to know that Simon is still playing Squad Busters. In case you were wanting to know, he's still playing it. He's not.
Haven't spent a dime.
Is that a new game in 2024, Steely?
Squad Busters?
Is going to be your game of the year?
Nah.
It's your early game of the year? Squad Busters?
Definitely not.
His game of the mobile year.
Yeah, Subnautica, love it.
Well,
anyway, JB, what have you been playing, you big
not
slipper?
But I have been sinking endless hours of my life into Astro Bot.
Yes.
Good.
Yeah, it's. I tell you, like, ultimately the play style and everything is very reminiscent of Astro's Playroom, but where this game started out pretty simple, and I was thinking to myself in the beginning, oh yeah, this is just going through the motions. This is really, really easy. It's like the difficulty suddenly hit a ramp and just went through the roof, and
that's good to know.
That's what we were hoping for.
Yeah.
So at one stage, like, and this again, one of the things I really, really love about this game. There's so many new levels and secret areas and things that you can unlock, and in particular, there's a series of themed PlayStation levels that are themed off the symbols on the buttons on the controller. So there's a collection of triangle levels, a collection of circle levels, a collection of square levels, and a collection of X levels. And these levels in particular are designed to be like super challenging. And like they start off pretty tricky with the X levels, and they only get harder and harder from there. Like I reckon some of them I might have attempted 30 or 40 times before I managed to get all the way to the end. And as tricky as they are, they don't have any checkpoints any of the way through. So you have to one-shot the level to get to the end and rescue. There's always like one bot that you get as a reward for doing it. So they are super tough. And then also like some of the big bosses that you have to fight at the end of like one of the nebula areas, they are super tough as well. Like uh, I think there's one that's themed on a snake, and I reckon that one's probably the toughest out of all of them. And one of the cool things is like for each of the bosses that you're fighting, you have like one of the abilities that Astro picks up along the way. So like I think we spoke previously about the fact that you can get like gloves that look like frog heads that you can use to like stretch out and grab onto things. There's another one that like turns you into a steel ball and you like become really heavy, and it sort of also makes you pretty invincible when you sort of squish down into the ball. There's one where you can become like a giant sponge and soak up heaps of water and spray water everywhere. So there's like just so many cool like abilities that this game brings into play, like over and above what they had in Astro's Playroom, which really only had like the bow and arrow. There was like a gun that you could shoot like colored balls, and there was maybe one other one as well. I'm struggling to remember what it was, but it was pretty basic anyway. And I guess it was there just to be the built-in game that came with your PlayStation 5 and let you test out all the DualShock features. Yeah,
nice.
But the other thing that I really like is not only are they paying homage to like all the older PlayStation stuff this time, where Astro's Playroom was like doing a homage to all the old PlayStation hardware, this one is doing like an homage to all of the software like characters. So you can find a bot that looks like Crash Bandicoot. There's another one that's a Nathan Drake. There's another one that's an Aloy. There's a Kratos and Atreus. Yeah. Like there's all these bots that are themed on very famous like PlayStation IP. Some of them I didn't even recognize, like they might be Final Fantasy characters, or I think there was a Parappa the Rapper in there. Like that was a cool sort of 1995 or 96 reference. Resident Evil characters, Silent Hill characters. So there's something in there for people who've been fans of PlayStation IP over the years. So
Easter eggs are always cool.
Yeah, and sorry, Steely, you go.
I was saying to Casey, I think this is probably one of the most unique ways to perform a crossover. I think when Sony tried to do a crossover in their Smash Brothers game that they did for PS3, it kind of was just like repeating the same old thing, but shit, and like in a way that just didn't really resonate. Obviously, it didn't go anywhere. Smash Brothers does that really, really well, and I think there's lots of games that's just the way that they end up doing it, is a 2D side-scrolling fighter, fucking that's it. Whereas I really love how this game takes all of those things together in a really unique way. Because, like you said, there are levels that you can do that are purely based off God of War. There's a level that you do that's purely based off Ape Escape. There's, stuff that is implemented in that makes it really feel like a crossover, but within the scope of what this game is, and something completely different as well. So it's not just like, it almost makes it tangible for all of these different characters to be in the room with each other, because they're just robots in costumes. But it's just really unique, and I think we love that part of it. It's really fun to see all those little different references all the way through, because it just keeps you kind of searching for each bot as well, because you want to see what the next little character might be, or the next little reference might be to a game that you really love. So it's great.
Yeah. And I think like where obviously as you go through the game, you're out there rescuing pieces of PlayStation hardware to reassemble the crashed PS5. It's all the bots and all the game references that they have that are kind of the I don't know what the right word is, but they kind of make up the culture of the PlayStation. Like they set the theme, so that it all once you've got the hardware, then the bots are the sort of the color that plays on the hardware. So I don't know what I'm saying. The colour that plays on the hardware. It's sorry, I'm having a brain aneurysm over here. You'll have
That's
to
all right,
forgive
mate.
me. But anyway, yes. So I've been playing that. I think I'm getting really close to the end, but I get the feeling that there's something waiting in the wings that I haven't discovered yet because I think I'm only 7 bots off having all 300 rescued.
Oh my gosh.
And yet the game tells me I'm only 47% complete. So I'm like, don't do this. Don't somehow rip them all away from me and I have to collect them all again a second time or
What?
No, it won't do that.
Collected 293. How many hours have you played?
I've sunk a lot of hours into this game.
And you're only 47% of the way through.
Well, I'm pretty sure that's what it said. So,
What?
And I'm
What a good game.
I'm getting pretty close to completing the last areas. So,
Still, you might touch on it in the news, but I know at State of Play they dropped a whole stack of DLC, didn't they? So maybe
Oh gosh.
Yeah, free DLC coming.
Yeah.
I will touch on that
Sorry, Steely, I won't.
with
say
my fingers.
Did you just turn to Dave Hughes again?
I am an elusive character.
I'm going to touch on that with my fingers.
Wow.
Well, without further ado, let's throw over to Steely for the news headline.
News! Oh, did you know that most spreadable butter contains vegetable oils, not just butter? I mean, what's up with that? Only buy the mainland one.
What?
It's a bit of free extra news for you. Only buy the mainland butter, everyone, because most other butters spreadable butters aren't just butter. They're vegetable oil as well. It's not a joke. You're fake news, Joel.
Okay.
It's all fake news. It's Sony stuff.
No, but tell me, have you seen this? Have you heard about this? Well, EA games truly do fuck up everything. However, in a moderate-sized plot twist, is listening to fans... Sorry, I'm not used to having a chat available. It's listening to fans and returning to its tried and true formula that made Battlefield 3 and 4 such raging successes. How about just release a game that isn't completely broken? No, but seriously, Battlefield has entered full production, with the game expected to provide us with a first look and maybe even releasing in 2025. All I know for certain is love is a battlefield. Am I right?
It sure is.
Checks out.
Thanks.
Yeah.
In my previous profession, PAX meant how many people you were expecting. I wrote this last week. PAX were how many people you were expecting to be at the table to cook for. Steam meant that the hot gas from the water that expels from a body of boiling water as the water transcends into a temperature above that of 100 degrees Celsius, which for our listeners in the US is the correct way to measure temperature. But
don't pick a fight with our American listeners here.
No, but
You could give us the Fahrenheit conversion there, Steely. Jeez.
Yeah.
You're going to want to heat that up to 465 degrees. No, you're not. It's 100 degrees Celsius. But now it's 2024 and both Steam and PAX are going to be together for the first time ever in Melbourne this October. Steam's attendance has been lubrication?
Lubrication? Beg your pardon?
Lubricating the softly parted assholes of the local consumer base who are just waiting for the Steam Deck to officially penetrate the Australian market. However, there is yet to be any word on an official release down under. I knew I wrote lubrication for a reason. It was meant to be lubricating.
Yeah, but I don't know if you needed to.
Nah, I did.
Son of a bitch.
Now, I know what you're thinking. Microsoft was totally the right company to acquire and then lay off half of Activision Blizzard. Well, you're right, because Microsoft, among other companies, have laid more staff off over the last couple of weeks. most of the lucky 650 more people being sent home being from Activision Blizzard. Now, this obviously is a sad story in itself, but Evening Star CEO David Padilla also had to send home 6 staff after the devs of Penny's Big Breakaway couldn't muster enough coin to fund a new project. The most shocking of all, though, goes to Annapurna, the publisher known for games such as 2023's Stray and Neon White, where all 25 employees performed a mass exodus from the interactive division, citing they were in the middle of a dispute with Megan Ellison, CEO, and the rest of the parent company, being Annapurna Pictures. Oh dear. So, big issues. I'm okay. It's just... I got a worm in my brain last week.
Forgot to
get some dewormer for my skull. No, but in the crux of that one, guys, even though I'd read it poorly, was that lots of people are getting laid off. All of Annapurna gone. Just see you later. See ya. Oh dear. Anyway, back to the number of people on the table / packs. The list is long, and there are some decent names coming to PAX this year, from Sega to Devolver Digital, Bandai Namco to Ubi shitting me. Lots are in attendance this year, with all eyes on Steam, and a lack of PlayStation, Nintendo, and Nintendo. Tickets to the event are now on sale. I'm on sale too.
What's on sale?
The tickets to PAX.
I thought you said tits. Don't you reckon that's what it sounded like?
I didn't. But
I'm on sale.
Listen back.
please,
Yeah, listen back to that one.
I'm on.
Coming in with the.
That's
the side
exactly
action.
what I heard.
Tits. Wow. Yeah. I'm on sale too. Seriously, name your price. If it's high enough, I'll come clean your house in a Stellar Blaze costume. I won't disappoint.
Say Stellar Blaze?
Stellar Blaze.
Yeah, there's
Stellar
something going
Blaze,
on
sorry.
with you.
Oh, I tell you what, I must have written this when I was asleep.
I will send you to Jesus.
Give them the option, but make sure it's barely available. That's the PS5 Pro disc drive for you. That's right, it may be hard if you're one of the suckers picking up a PS5 Pro at launch to play any of your physical library day one, due to the disc drives already being in scarce supply. Speculation has already begun as to whether this is excitement for the console or scalping. I'd go with the latter. Having said that, there is also speculation that this is artificial supply withholding from Sony to encourage consumers towards digital-only purchasing. What do you think at home? Are Sony doing this? Are people scalping the drives? Did somebody scalp my hair in the early 2020s? If so, could you do me a favor and go buy it back from eBay for triple the price?
Oh, you really don't like going away from the news today.
I know. Now, Sony held a State of Play last week on the 25th of September. And if this is the state of play down at Sony, I'm going to preface this entire news story by saying they can stick 95% of it up their detachable disc drive, otherwise known as Dana Carvey's best character yet, Mark Cerny's asshole. Yes, the Horizon Zero Dawn remaster was real. I mean, come on, Sony, read the fucking room. We got 4 DualSense controller style announcements. Woo! A scissor reel for a bunch of existing games running their next most abandoned platform, the PS5 Pro, and 2 remasters for 2 PS1 games. This won't be any good for Ferg, but the announcement of The Last of Us Part 1 is coming to PS Plus, and Keanu Reeves is coming to Sonic X Shadow Generations. Now, we did get 5% good news in the abysmal presentation. Astro Bot opened the show with some free DLC coming later this year, and the announcement from Sucker Punch of Ghost of Yotei coming 2025. Now, that may have been the only saving grace of this show, and an otherwise complete and utter failure to present Sony fans with anything else to look forward to. But anyway... But you know what you can look forward to? An imminent reveal of the Nintendo Switch 2. Chinese manufacturing leaks and reverse engineering have demonstrated what the successor to the Nintendo Switch and its controllers will possibly look like in what Digital Foundry are calling credible information. Well, because they know everything apparently. Because they were saying fucking Tears of the Kingdom was running on Nintendo Switch 2 and that it was impossible to get such brilliant volumetric clouds on a Nintendo Switch. So suck me off, Digital Foundry. Anyway, some images were posted on Reddit and X of the new design of the new next Joy-Con and the system itself, leaving fans divided. Bizarrely, in a community just asking for a Switch with more power, people are now upset the console doesn't appear to be that different to a Nintendo Switch. Much with any leak and rumour, take it with a grain of flaky salt. This has, however, opened up the floodgates for a potential reveal, with some industry insiders claiming we could be getting our first look as early as next week. Ooh. I remember my first look. I was like, wow, these exist in real life and not just in a magazine or a video downloaded on LimeWire. Who knew? And that's your news for the last 14 days or so. Yum!
Thanks, Steely.
News! This week, brought to you by Adam Liao, Julie Goodwin, and Polly Yao! Whoa!
Wow. So if we throw the 95% of the state of play that was sort of pretty well hopeless in the bin, and we just circle back to the 5% that is the Ghost of Yotei or Yotei? Yotei?
I don't know how to fucking say it, man.
Who gives a shit? Ghost of Tsushima 2. What do we think? What were your thoughts on that one, Fergus Fergamon Hamilton?
My thoughts on that one was I need to play the first one.
Okay. Well, that's a good place to start.
Yeah, it looks great. Trailer looks fun. Got to play the first one before I'll get excited about the second one. If I'm being, that's my honest answer. I just haven't played the first one, so I'm not maybe as invested as and excited as yourself and others in the DG crew. What are your excitement levels for this game, JB?
Well, there was a few things that were shown in the trailer, and it was a pretty modest sort of trailer. Yeah. It was all sort of cinematic.
Female protagonist. It's probably the biggest reveal.
Yeah. So, all right. So there's a female protagonist that's the Ghost of Yotei, whatever. This story is set 300 years after the events of Ghost of Tsushima. So it's sort of much later in the timeline, and as a result of that, there's new things that are sort of coming into the fold. So there's guns shown off, like there's sort of flintlock style pistols like you'd have in the 1600s or whatever. So that's possibly an element to the game. It does appear to show at one point the female protagonist dual wielding, which you couldn't do in Ghost of Tsushima. So the ability to be sort of swinging two samurai swords at the same time, or perhaps a samurai sword in one hand and a dagger in the other, or some combination of that is quite appealing. Leaves the mouth watering, so to speak. But there's look, there wasn't a lot shown, so probably those things looked really good. In my opinion, is it a big deal that the protagonist is female versus male? I mean, there's probably a lot of streamers out there who have strong opinions about that one way or the other. I'm not one of them. I could not care less if it was a man or a woman, or or a goblin or whatever. As long as the game plays well, I'm all for it. So I think good thing. Change it up. Nice to sort of follow a new story. Be interesting to see if the story of Jin Sakai somehow ties into this one, whether he's like whether him and his deeds are sort of an inspiration for her, or whether she's maybe some sort of
Descendant.
Yeah, exactly. But it's going to be an interesting one to sort of dig into and find out. And I mean, if it's even half as good as the original game, I think we're in for something pretty special. And look, I've said it before. Anytime one of the Sony first-party studios drops a game, people should sit up and listen, because they're always something to take note. You know, whether it's Naughty Dog with The Last of Us or Uncharted, you know, or any of the games in their franchises, they were all pretty consistently bangers. Sucker Punch, obviously, they had the Infamous games, which I don't know if you ever played any of those, but I know Steely certainly did. He was a big fan of the Infamous range up until they lost you at the end.
100% at all of them.
But Santa Monica Studios with the God of War franchises, Insomniac with Ratchet and Clank, and the Marvel Spider-Man games, and the upcoming Wolverine game, which still we haven't really seen a hell of a lot on. So that's going to be pretty exciting once we see where that goes. So I think, and of course Guerrilla with the Horizon franchise. I know that Steely, you're gonna remind me that a remaster of Horizon Zero Dawn is probably not what we were hoping for out of Guerrilla, but I'm sure there's probably more in the works that they're working on.
Yeah, but not only just not what anyone was hoping for, not what anybody fucking needs. Honest to goodness. It is just an absolute waste of time. They've already done a patch for PS5, and now they've remastered it for PS5. Fuck off. Like, just fucking put it to bed. What's up with this remastering a game that's not even 10 years old? Shove it up your ass. There is not enough content on a PlayStation 5 to sit there and think, I'm going to capitalize on a not even 10-year-old game on this system that has fuck all on it in the first place. And that's the thing that makes me frustrated. As a consumer for Sony, I'm sitting there going, I'm not going to get excited for a thing that is I've already played, and I'm not going to go and pay $9.99 to play it again with 10 hours of better fucking motion capture. Shove it up, you stinky, big, ugly, fat asses. I don't give a shit, and it shouldn't happen. But I'm dead serious. This is, and it's frustrating that I am serious about this because it's an arbitrary thing to get upset about. As a consumer of this platform, we all have shelved money into this platform for nothing. Like, arguably, everything else we could have played on what is it? What's that stupid thing? The PlayStation 4. If we all had a PlayStation 4 Pro, you'd get fairly much the same experiences, bar Astro Bot. Now, tell me, like, as much as I love my PlayStation 5 and I like having a DualSense control and yada, 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 and that it runs a little bit faster load times, is it worth it? I just don't know. And that's the thing that's frustrating me. Is it going to be worth it when a PlayStation 6 comes out and there's going to be nothing coming out on it? Probably not worth it. You know what I mean? Like, and then I'm going to have to buy everything fucking digitally anyway. You know? So I just don't know. I'm it's not just that it's not what I wanted. It's that I think that it is a complete waste of time and it's tone deaf, and consumer base is getting left behind. Big time. Rant over.
What about Ghost of Yotei? Because you were a big fan of the original one, Steely.
Oh, yeah. I'm frothing at the lips for this game. Yeah. Boom. When I saw that, I was like, oh, you know what? It made it sort of half worth it for me to fast forward through half of this show. I think as a trailer goes, it just gives you enough to wet the lips, you know, without giving you the drink. And I think that's good. I think, much like what you said, Joel, I've seen a lot of people up in arms about the fact that there's a female protagonist. Couldn't give two shits. You know, we had a female was the catalyst for everything that Jin Sakai did in the first game. Like she basically edged him into the world of rebelling against the samurai and fighting for his own honor and avenging his family and stuff like that. So at the end of the day, like who gives a shit?
I'm just excited for Ghost of the Goblin. Ghost of the Grip Hook.
But you know, like as long as it's a compelling story, which I'm sure it will be, and like you said, as the gameplay is good, I'm all for it. Anything set in Japan that's not a Ubisoft game, I'm there, hard and fast.
Got that.
Well, I just don't understand why, in this day and age now, with the amount of games that we've had over the years that have had female protagonists, why this is still seen as something unusual or something bizarre. Like, you think back through, like, if I said to you rattle off your top 3 female protagonists from any video game franchise ever, who would they be? Top 3.
Jeez.
Top 3. Well, you got to go with Lara Croft.
All right. So number 1, would have been up there with my picks as well.
I did enjoy the Perfect Dark games, so I can't remember what that lass's name was.
Oh, wasn't her name like Jessica Dark or something?
Yeah.
That'll do.
That's pretty dark.
But then the other
Pretty
one,
perfect.
which hands on ears, Steely, because I want to talk about your favorite franchise. Assassin's Creed Odyssey you had the option to choose the female or the male protagonist in that game, and the female was unbelievable, incredibly well voiced, I thought. So I want to chuck her on the list as well.
Okay. Steely, top 3 female protagonists right now. Go.
Samus Aran, Zelda, fucking Dixie Kong. She changes the fucking game.
Definitely Zelda for me.
Okay. Yep.
Oh, top of my head, this isn't good. I don't know. Would you call Ellie from The Last of Us
Yep.
a main character? Yeah.
Yep. Certainly from The Last of Us 2.
Dixie Kong, did you say?
Changes the fucking game, I'm telling you. Changes Donkey Kong.
I don't know. Aloy.
Okay. Yeah. Great.
Why not?
Great choice.
Yeah, confident.
It's just too. I have to think about it for a good 24 hours usually. So.
I'm sure I could think.
Anyone who's following along in the chat as well, feel free to post your own top choice for female protagonist.
Princess Peach from Princess Peach's Showtime.
Yeah. Oh, well, there you go. Steely's C-Mac's still going.
I'll just keep yelling them out when I think of them throughout the show.
There's a lot of great ones. Yeah, what about you, JB? Hit it.
There's just so many. I mean, straight off the top of my head, I was thinking, Peach or Princess Toadstool, as she was known in my day, back when Mario was first in its infancy. I would definitely say, I would have said Lara Croft as well. Maybe V from Cyberpunk. Another great protagonist. There's so many, like you say, Samus from Super Metroid. I mean, the Eve from Stellar Blade. I mean, you can just go on and on. What a Bayonetta.
The weird thing is, though, I don't even really notice anymore.
No.
Like, it's not even that's a female. It doesn't really click with me anymore because it doesn't bear any weight.
I think if these characters are written well and the stories are good and they're not just like plastered in there for the sake of them being female, it works really, really well. You know, I think if they add a part of, if the part of their character and the fact that they're a woman is lent into it a bit, it always tends to lead into great storytelling. And I think that, it just gives us a different perspective. And I think that's why sometimes some of these stories that you can kind of either choose one or the other sex, it's interesting because you get a different feeling from one or the other. You can actually, like Ferg said with Assassin's Creed fucking Odyssey, you get a different feeling from picking the female version than you do the male version. And sometimes it just lends to the story better. And so I'm all for that, big time.
You think the Ghost of Yotei will give us the level of character customization that we've grown accustomed to in the likes of Cyberpunk 2077 and Baldur's Gate 3. You know,
I don't think so.
I can't that's okay, but maybe something to consider if anyone from Sucker Punch is watching us live on stream at the moment. You know, maybe consider that.
Yeah.
Or not.
JB.
Yes.
I was going to ask you, State of Play.
Yes.
There was a couple of VR experiences. 2, I think, were at the State of Play, which I thought looked interesting.
Yeah.
As the man with the Sony VR2 headset, Hitman.
Yeah. Was it Hitman World of Assassination? I think was the title.
Why do all these VR named games have ridiculously bad names? They always sound so cheesy, but whatever it was called. But
yeah,
Hitman in first person.
That one definitely did stick out to me, and that does look pretty amazing, I must admit. So,
just the footage of the agent, 47, coming up behind someone and doing the old the neck break.
Love that, yeah. Or doing the old villain, poison in the drink and stirring it up. Yeah, no, I love all that. I think that's good, and also obviously having the ability to sort of dual wield pistols and be able to sort of aim down the sights and pop someone off.
Or just having the ability to be able to play a game on your PSVR too.
Well, yeah, I mean that is fun. Haven't been able to do that for a while, but yeah.
No, it's hard when Sony abandons a platform within months of it releasing, isn't it?
Oh, there's a few things on there.
Was Batman the other one that did I see that at State of Play, or did I see that somewhere else? Because I thought that looked really cool as well.
Yeah, I think that was the one that that was announced. There was a new Arkham game, but yeah, it was going to be solely VR. So,
but that's not coming to PlayStation. That's coming to I think MetaQuest. I don't think it's a PlayStation VR thing.
It's only on the Zuckerberg special.
Yeah. And have you seen the newest one is wireless, ladies and gentlemen? PlayStation, Sony, just stop being shit.
You heard it here first.
Come on. This fucking thing's wireless. It's 2024. Everything's wireless. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, there is the whole thing, but then you have to have a battery pack that you got to charge, and then you got to carry the battery pack on your person while you're using it, and so there are some things that maybe don't stand up, but
the option would be nice. But anyway, whatever. Hitman, it's all riding on you. But that looked cool. And as a fan of the Hitman games, I think to be able to play that out in VR, I think would be a cool experience. On stand in a cornfield as a scarecrow for hours on end.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Anyone played Hitman games? I don't know. There's
No.
some kind of level where you go to some farm and you dress up as a scarecrow and you basically stand out in the cornfield and lure people.
Yeah, then jump out and scare the farmer.
Yeah, that's it.
Wow. Wow.
Scare the farmer.
Yeah. Just out here scaring the farmers.
Oh god.
But that's okay. Was there anything on offer that particularly got you frothing at the lips, apart from Ghost of Yotei, Simon Steely McLaughlin?
No.
Okay. Well, that's,
unless it was the Astro DLC, I was like, oh yeah, cool. That looks fun.
To Put England James!
That was me.
Whole presentation was a waste of space. Could have literally released dropped a trailer on X and on YouTube for Ghost of Yotei and a quick update on fucking Astro, saying that there was going to be some free DLC, and that was all that was worthwhile. The very start and the very end, and that was it.
Steely's on the warpath with Sony this week. Where are we?
Yeah, I don't know. It just really infuriated me because I was like, oh, state of play. This is going to be. And then it was. And I was like, ugh. And then I went, ah. And then I was like, oh, yes. And then I was like, what happened?
What a wheel of emotion.
Yeah.
My
The
thoughts
highs
exactly.
and lows.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I love that. Well, I did also see in the media this week that Ubisoft, well, there was an interview with the real Yves Guillemot on TikTok.
The same bloke we have on the show every once in a while.
Yeah, very same guy. And he was being taken to task over the performance of Star Wars Outlaws and the pretty poor sales that they're seeing off the back of that, and it has caused the stock price of Ubisoft to absolutely tank big time, to the point where there's now a question mark over whether they'll be able to steady the ship and actually release some of their big IP properties, such as your Assassin's Creed and Far Cry. So, I mean, but here's the one thing though. Never at any point did Yves Guillemot suggest that any of the blame should rest at their feet. Instead, he chose to point the finger squarely at gamers and accused gamers of having standards that were way too high.
Oh, jeez.
For the games that are being released these days. He said gamers just expect too much, and that's the reason that Star Wars Outlaws is doing so poorly. We expect too much. What are your thoughts on that, Ferg?
That's code of saying our competition are doing it better, and you're comparing our games against them, and that's not right.
It's not fair, is it?
It's not fair. It's,
No.
I don't know. What are you going to do? Like, I mean, yeah, we've had, you think last year, 2023, some of the games that have come out in the last few years, you think of the game years, we've had Elden Ring, God of War, Ragnarok, the latest Tears of the Kingdom, Baldur's Gate 3. We've had like masterpieces in the last couple of years, so they become the new measuring stick.
Spider-Man 2.
And you would think at Ubisoft,
Hi-Fi Rush.
yeah, they would be aspiring to get on the same level, like not trying to separate them and using fans' expectations of what they hold a stick to what is and what isn't a good game. They should be over there being like, how do we get up there? How can we spit out a game? Why? Like, that's what they should be focusing on, not everything outside them. Just concentrating on just bringing out a fucking absolute banger, and all will be well. But
I mean, this just stinks of, once again, the developers of Concord, calling out gamers as talentless freaks because they've offered up some constructive criticism of their work. I mean, you got to own this stuff. You got to take it on board and say, right, well, this hasn't worked. This hasn't resonated with gamers.
How do we fix it?
Where
do we go wrong?
They exist to create games for our enjoyment, and if we're not enjoying them, then they need to work out why.
Yeah, they need a shake up. Like, you look at the games they've released in the last sort of 12 months. You've had Skull and Bones. We've seen the Avatar game. There's been Star Wars. They're all just run-of-the-mill games, similar formula to what they've done in the past. They need a real shake-up, I think. I don't think they can just keep spitting out an Assassin's Creed game every year and stuff that's very similar to what they've done in the past, and expect that they need something new and improved, some new ideas, really shake it up a bit.
It's a shame, because if you go back and have a look at some of the best intellectual properties that Ubisoft own and produce games for, there's some amazing titles. You've got Assassin's Creed, obviously, as one of the big ones. We've got Far Cry. Whether you're a big fan of Far Cry or not, well, that's up to to you. You've got Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six. I don't know if you've played many of the games in the Rainbow Six area, but that's another big one. We've got Just Dance. I mean, sure, it's a fairly niche in terms of who it appeals to, but like in terms of like a party game, Just Dance has got a lot of appeal, like to certain people. Splinter Cell. I mean, we haven't seen a decent Splinter Cell game for a while.
Yeah, bring it back. Why are you remastering games like that?
Yeah, Rayman.
Classic.
Rabbids. We've obviously got the Mario and plus Rabbids titles that came out on Nintendo Switch, which Steely even himself conceded was a big win for Ubisoft.
They are great games, but David Soliani, who actually was the brainchild behind all those games, has fucked off and left Ubisoft. So it just goes to show all the good people fuck off and go and do better things, because honest to God, it must be a nightmare. And he is an incredibly passionate and talented guy, and you can see with the way that he, would react to fan feedback, especially. Obviously, his game was good, but, is still.
And then to round it out, we've got South Park, The Fractured Butthole.
It was a great game.
Yeah, absolute hurler of a game. So it's pretty sobering to think we might not be seeing many of them. What do we think is going to happen if Ubisoft keep tanking the way that they are? Do you think we're going to see an acquisition by a larger company? Is there enough blood in the water for the sharks to be circling, do you think, Ferg?
All the guys over at Microsoft.
You
Well, they got deep pockets over there.
Well, is Gatesy willing to get the wallet out again and, see...
Yeah, the old acquire and fire. Yeah, no worries.
I reckon they need to get back to basics. They need to get back to the drawing board with some fresh ideas, some new IP, and
IP, you reckon?
Yeah, get this thing going in the other trajectory, because like some of those series you've rattled off there, and Watch Dogs was the other one I thought of as well.
Oh yeah.
Like Far Cry, Assassin's Creed, like there's been so many games in these series. And granted, these games are good games, but they're not amazing games. When you're spitting out the same thing once every couple of years, people think, well, do I need to buy this one? I'll just wait for it to go on sale. Like, there's nothing that's really screaming. And I think Star Wars Outlaws had a fair bit of interest, but I think once it came out and people realised it was very similar to a lot of their open world stuffs in many respects, people just go, oh, I'll just sit on it, wait for it to go on sale. They need they need something new, something exciting. I remember when Watch Dogs came out, and that was like a really cool thing. That was like, they need something like that and just execute it.
It was still unfortunate as well, though, because Watch Dogs had so much potential. I think they tried to jump the shark too much on it and just implement all these super futuristic things. And the only way to go once you go deep into future is like a beyond that, and to the point where it kind of becomes unbelievable. And what I really enjoyed about it sounds going to sound real stupid, but about the reveal of Watch Dogs 1 was that it felt very grounded. It felt very intellectual, and it looked like there was a lot of thought that went behind that trailer for it, where it demonstrated how you could hack people or look into other people's lives, and it looked very sort of, I guess, kind of gritty. And this guy, you didn't know much about him, but he was a vigilante. And then the whole scene that happens at the front of the nightclub where all the cars crash because he sets off the traffic lights. And then at that scene, what it shows in that initial trailer in 2011 or whenever it was shown, was that he could go in and take people out of the cars to save their lives or leave them in there. He could, there was ways that he could interact with people in the world that didn't end up in the final game. It was just a complete... It was like so many features that could have been implemented into that game that were left behind, that would have just made it that step above, like that little bit extra than just a GTA clone with hacking, which essentially is what it was in the end. And having said that, it was still a fun enough GTA clone with hacking. and I thought the hacking was implemented pretty well into the game. It was satisfying, but then when they really towed the line in number 2, really dipped into the GTA side of it a little bit more and tried to lighten up the story and freshen up, a lot of it was just not believable at that point, and it got worse and worse as the franchise kind of progressed. And so it's kind of sad because there was a lot of potential. If you look at that first trailer, even now you go, oh, fuck, that looks really cool. I'd love to play that. And then you play that whole sequence in the game, and it's so watered down and dumbed down. It's really sad. There's some great ideas, but they're not being fleshed out.
All right, so let me post this hypothetical to you, Steely, and certainly open this up to the stream if anyone on the stream wants to comment. But let's say, for argument's sake, that Ubisoft now get acquired by Sony Interactive Entertainment in a hostile takeover. Right, so they get scooped up, and Sony just fucks them all off. Right, sacks everybody at Ubisoft. See you later, go home. But Sony now own all the IP, and they take Assassin's Creed and they give it to Naughty Dog and say, make the next Assassin's Creed game. Are you excited for a Naughty Dog Assassin's Creed, and would you play it?
Okay, I'm going to flip the switch on this. Santa Monica's doing Assassin's Creed, hands down.
That's not what he said.
I don't give a fuck shit what he said. Santa Monica's doing Assassin's Creed.
Yep.
Watch Dogs, Naughty Dog is doing, and they're doing it really fucking well. And then everything else, Rayman, Team Asobi.
Okay.
And then Guerrilla can do just maybe anything but a Far Cry. There we go. I was going to say anything but a fucking another Horizon remaster. But no, they can do Far Cry. I don't know. That would be the best case scenario. I think something like that, if they were to distribute the IP amongst the most capable teams to do it. Maybe Watch Dogs goes to Guerrilla. Maybe Naughty Dog doesn't pick up any of those, because I think Naughty Dog now is maybe not a part of that same style, or those kind of big super duper open world games, and they never really have done big super duper open world games. It's always been linear narrative adventures. So I'd like to see those other teams take care of those, and then Naughty Dog just not remake and remaster The Last of Us and Uncharted for the next 10 years. So
we think, as far as the IPs are concerned, we think there's a little more meat left on that bone, but we just think that Ubisoft are no longer the team to execute it. Is that what we're saying?
I would, I'd probably play another Assassin's Creed game if it was in capable hands and it wasn't a janky piece of shit. And I'd probably play another Watch Dogs game if it told a worthwhile story and it wasn't a bloated mess. Because those were games that when I first played them, I had a really good time with them. And unfortunately, I've just fallen out of love with the series. If they can reboot them in a way that it is meaningful, maybe just takes everything back to basics a little bit and goes back to square one, even if we had a Watch Dogs game, like I said, by Guerrilla that was set 10, 20 years before the Aiden Pierce story, and it was just about maybe some fucking high school kid who, his brother gets shot in a school shooting by a police officer or something, and then he decides to go and hack a cell phone and do all sorts of weird shit with that to try and take down the government or something. I don't know. That would be a cool story. That's a dumb fucking idea, but would be.
Dark.
Oh, I don't know, because the first story was pretty dark. It was about Aiden Pierce's niece getting killed in a car accident from a big fucking crime boss, and it all got covered up, and so he basically went rogue and decided to go and hunt them down, and then he found out that the whole city was running on the security system that basically made him look like a criminal and wasn't getting the criminals, and so he went to take it all down. And it was a cool story. It was pretty poor cutscenes and everything, but it was an interesting concept, and it could be handled a lot better. Don't ask big loaded questions. You're going to get big, fat answers.
Well, on that note, that brings us to the end of another episode of the Discerning Gamer Podcast. I'd like to start by thanking the DG crew with Fergus Bergamon Hamilton. Thank you.
Thanks, JB. Always a pleasure, mate.
And Simon Steely McLaughlin. Thank you.
Thanks, JB. Thanks, chat. And remember, anybody watching, listening, and or otherwise, mainland, unsalted, spreadable butter. It's just butter.
Okay, that's fantastic.
Don't get any of this other shit. It's vegetable oil on your toast.
And
don't
last
get
but not
margarine.
least, Casey C. Mac McLaughlin. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. And you've reminded me we've run out, so we're going to buy some tomorrow.
Oh, shit.
And
Straight to the
we'll
shops.
see you next week.
Bye.
Yeah.
Yeah, we will see you next week. But this is the problem with your margarines. It's actually been proven that the color of margarine is not actually that color. It's actually they mix it with something to emulsify it to make it look like butter, but it's actually a real fucked color when it's first made. Just don't do it. Don't just